Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Ferny. This is the place where you get to ask a real life psychic medium and spiritual person questions about whether it's your life, your circumstances. If you want to ask me about any spiritual issues you're dealing with, anything that you think may help you as far as having a more spiritual fulfilling life, here's the place to ask those questions. And I am going to take some time to answer them for you. So if you guys want to ask your questions, go ahead and type them in the comment section below, and I will make time at the end, during the second half of this broadcast. I'll make time to go ahead and get to them. Be aware, your questions are public, so if you're going to put them out there, make sure that you are being mindful and aware that if you are going to ask about a specific person, or if you're mentioning things about yourself, that you are aware of what you're putting out there, because they are public, right? But nothing's off the table. You can ask about anything as long as you are polite and you're respectful of yourself and of each other. That's all that matters, right? So say hello to you guys. I've got a few of you in here. So I've got Denise. Hi, Denise. Hi. Love you, love you, love you. Your energy and what introduces you before you even speak. That is so true. That is so, so true. I think it's interesting because my partner and I were shopping the day before yesterday at the stores, and we all the places we'd been to, there was like nobody in those stores. So we were so comfortable and like just enjoying just having the whole store to ourselves. And then the last place we got to was a busy, busy place. And my partner was like, okay, I was fine before we got here. And then I feel like my energy went from 10 to like zero in a matter of seconds. And I thought that was hilarious because my partner he's a very like nonconformist. He doesn't, always buy everything that I'm telling him. I'm like, this and this and this. He's like, nah, I don't think so. Maybe you're reaching for them. I'm like, okay. But what's interesting is that, he doesn't use that kind of language where it's like, my energy was like at 10 and then I came in here and it's like dropped from like 10 to zero. And I told him, I said, that's what I deal with on a regular basis. When we go to stores, I prefer to go when there's not as many people, because when I deal with a lot of people, it's like I'm being drained because of all the interactions and all the energies that are in that environment. So that's why. So, if you guys ever notice, whenever you go into a grocery store, take this off, go into a grocery store, your energy may be okay, and then the moment you step foot into the store, you're like, you like have no energy whatsoever. And then you get home and you like have to like crash in front of the couch, or you have to crash in front of the TV or go to bed just because you're so wiped out. That's how I feel sometimes. Actually, I feel like that after a day's worth of sessions, and then have to spend some time kind of walking it off because I have to get back into my energy and like stop feeding or giving others all of my energy, because it drains me to the point where I can't even like keep my eyes open. So I have natural ways of getting my energy back and getting myself aligned with my own type of energy, with my own sense of self. So very good. Hi, I've got Andrea. Hi, Andrea. Welcome, welcome. Brenda. Hi, Brenda. Welcome. Let's see, Janie. I got Janie here. What? Janie's in town. Girl, just playing with you. Let's see. I've got Denise. Denise has a question. Would love to know when will my partner get a promotion, please? I'm thinking it's gonna take them till August, or take them into August or September. So I'm thinking your partner will get a promotion, or will have the opportunity for promotion about August, actually, because I'm seeing the August time frame. That's probably when they're gonna do it. So yeah, I've got quite a few people here. Christina Cottrell, hello, welcome, welcome. Patrick, hi Patrick, it's good to see you again. All right, guys, yep, Denise agrees with me. It always happens to me, yes, 10 to 0. And you know what? The holidays are the same way. I think the whole month of December is the same way. Where everybody's like excited, and then once the month hits, everybody's like, oh, I can't keep up with my day. I can't keep up with my day. And that is so the case in my opinion. Okay, so let's talk about, let's talk about mediumship, because that's what the whole point of this episode was going to be. I told you guys I was going to make a video on mediumship, and this is what it is. So mediumship. And so I want to give you guys a few pointers on what you can do to connect with spirit, to be able to like connect with your loved ones, or just to connect to spirit in general. Because I think we can get so much information and so much inspiration from our loved ones in spirit, and even from our guides and others in the spirit realms, right? In the higher recesses of the universe. So I'm going to give you a few tips on what you can do to raise your vibration, to raise your energy, and that way you can hopefully have more connections, more communication, and more validation that you are not alone. You're not here in the universe. You're not living your physical life alone. You are surrounded by loved ones. You are surrounded by energies that are constantly in connection with you, right? I always tell people all the time when I'm doing mediumship sessions that I'm not any special. You know, I'm a medium. Yeah, I'm a psychic. Yeah, I'm in touch and I can connect it. Some people refer to it as a gift. I refer to it as a skill, a highly refined skill that if you're devoted and you are really interested in developing, you can develop it. I've spent a majority of my lifetime developing this ability, developing this skill. You know, I remember as a kid watching TV and seeing people who had these abilities to like communicate with the deceased and who could see the future, and I was like, wow. Like I was just amazed by those movies and those shows, and I wanted to be able to do that. And since I was a very young person, I would just devote my energy and time to developing this ability. I mean, I remember in high school, I just read book after book after book after book. And, you know, we'd be in class and people would be reading their books and I would have my psychic development, book out and I'd be reading it. And that's what I would do during that time. So I've spent years understanding and trying to comprehend and get better and better and better. And even then, I still have a long way to go. I still have a lot to learn, but I get it, I understand it, and I spent quite a bit of time practicing that ability to be able to communicate with spirits and to see the future. So I want to share with you some of my tips for what you can do. And one of them, and this is going to be the top tip that I can give you. The number one thing you can do is to believe in the fact that you can do it, because belief is so crucial, so important to be able to develop this, to be able to open up to the potential. The moment you believe that this is possible for you, that it's possible for you to be able to connect with your loved ones or just to connect with spirits, is the moment that you will have the capacity to do so, because nothing is allowed into your life unless there's an awareness of it, right? The moment you become aware of something, the moment you learn about something, you'll start experiencing and encountering it all over the damn place. So the moment that you open up to the potential that you can do this, that you can connect with loved ones and you can connect with spirits on that level, is the moment you open that door up. One of the things that I tell people when they're developing is don't always open up to everything. Always stay within an intention of dealing with the highest and best good of all those involved. That doesn't mean that everything you say or everything you see or experience is going to be light and fluffy and, just pure positive energy. That's not what we deal with in the human form. I don't know why we would expect that from our experience in psychic and dealing with psychic abilities and dealing with our psychic senses and our spirit communication. And not all the spirits that I've talked to have always been the most jolly-be-golly personalities. Some of them are a little more crude and can be a little more rude sometimes. But in intending to connect with the spirits and with those higher realms and the highest in high intention, it basically sets the stage and it sets the standard. Hey guys, I'm not dealing with anything unless it's coming from a place of love or a place of healing. And even sometimes negative experiences will create a sense of healing or may act as an enforcer, as a catalyst for change for you. So sometimes when, I try to live from a place of good, from a place of love, from a place of prosperity and positive energy. But when I have negative experiences in my life, when I have negative interactions with others, I know that because I intend so strongly to only intend with the positive, that if something has happened and it is difficult to go through, or it's difficult to experience, then it's there for a reason, right? It's meant to be because there's something in it for me to experience, for me to know from. So intention is the most important thing you can do to help yourself develop intuitively, to develop psychically, to develop spiritually, and be able to connect with spirits, intending that you are going to deal with the highest and best good of all those involved, but also that you intend to connect because you can. The belief that you can is what matters. So that's what I would say. Number one is make sure that you believe that it is possible, because it is possible as long as you believe it. So there are days where I wake up and I'm like, am I really doing this? And I just second guess myself, and then slam, I'll have an amazing reading or an amazing session. And I'm reminded of, yeah, this is really happening. I really just said that. I really just said such and such. I really just got that, that message from so and so about this. So you will have validation that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're on the right track. So believe in it, because if you believe in it, then you can achieve it, you can receive it, you can be it. Okay? That's number one. Number two is paying attention to your thoughts and paying attention to your emotions. I refer to some of the psychic senses as just further expressions of the physical senses. The inner ear, the inner eye, all of those things. People believe that when they experience things or they see things or they get their messages, that they're gonna see something physical, or they're gonna hear something in their ear, and they're like walking around like, I don't hear anything, I don't see anything. Well, no, because that's on the physical level. You're not connecting with physical energy, you're connecting with spiritual energy. And so it's going to come from a different place. It's going to occur in a different way. Do not expect it to be physical. Now, that's not to say that your loved ones will not show up in a very physical way for you, especially right after they pass, because it's easier for them at that time. But most spirits will communicate in the form of energy through the simplest and easiest methods possible, whether it's through a dream, whether it's through the psychic ear or the psychic eye. And the psychic ear and the psychic eye is nothing more than just remembering a sound and then having that memory playing in your mind, or remembering something you've seen and then having it take up residence in your memory, having it take up residence in your awareness, and then paying attention to those details. That's all it is. That is all it is. I remember my very first experience when I connected with a spirit, because I didn't know I could do that. In the beginning of all this, I was only trying to be a psychic. I never had any intention of being a medium or being able to connect with spirit. So my intention, my focus was just on psychic ability and psychic sensing. So I would have people call me. This was back in the day when I was like 15 and 16, and people were calling my house, and my mom would be like, who are all these people calling the house? And I said, well, I gave one person a reading and they told someone, and then I gave them a reading, they told somebody, and the next thing you know, I've got people calling my house all day, and I wasn't charging for it, which was crazy, because here I am helping all these people. And I was over here like, I need to get a job. I need to like sustain myself. I can't, pay my bills. I need to get a job. And I could have just done that and then been able to help more people and been able to do that all day long. Instead of trying to have a regular job and then trying to do this on the side, it's like killing me to do all of that all at once. But, now that's what I do full time, which is wonderful. I love it. I love being able to do what I do now. But back then, it was like I was just trying to be able to help people and sense things and tune in and give them something that helped them to see the future and know what the future was going to be. But it was during one session where I had a woman call me. She called me, and here I am, like a 16-year-old kid, not knowing anything about mediumship, not knowing what mediumship was. All I knew is that when I would focus on something, it would pop up in my mind, it would pop up in my memory, and just pay attention and share what I got. And so she called and said that her husband had passed away, and she wanted to know if I could connect to them. And I was like, I've never done this before, so I don't know if I can do that, but I will try. And so what I did was I did the exact same thing I do when I'm tuning into psychic sensing. I just kind of closed my own personal chatterbox down, and I tried to pay attention to what was coming up in my mind. And so in my mind, I kept seeing an image or a memory of my relative, my cousin Junior. And my cousin Junior, he's just like very Tex-Mex looking kind of guy, would wear belt buckles and boots and hats and all of that. So I kept seeing this image of my cousin Junior. And I tried to describe this person. I said, I keep seeing my cousin Junior. I don't know why. And she's like, okay. And I said, I don't know why I keep seeing him, but I keep describing, I described him to her. And I said, maybe there's something that I'm supposed to be correlating to this because it keeps coming up. So I described him to her. She says, well, yeah, he kind of looks like that. Yeah, he resembles that. And I said, okay. And then in my mind, I kept the memory kind of became its own like dream. It's almost like, when you're in a dream, the dream kind of takes its life of its own, even though they're components from your regular day. There, the dream kind of takes its own little, like, it becomes its own thing. So in my mind, this memory of seeing my cousin Junior, everything else about the memory faded in the background. The only thing I could see was like my cousin, and it was like in a dark space in my mind, and seeing this. And so then in my mind, I became hyper fixated and very attention aware of my cousin's boots. And they were a specific pair of boots. And the boots were these snakeskin boots. They were cream colored with these half beads sticking out all over the boots. For me, the hideous looking boots I've ever seen, but that's what was popping out, is these half beads, and they were cream colored. So I said, I don't know why, but he keeps talking about these boots. They're these boots. They're these boots. And so I told her, I said, there's these cream colored boots. They're snakeskin. They've got these half beads sticking out of all over them, and they're ugly, but this is the color that they are. And she says, oh my God, those are my husband's boots. Like, we buried him in those boots. And so what's interesting is I never remember my cousin having a pair of boots like that. He actually just wore regular boots. But in my dream, his boots became this other type of boot that I'd never seen before. But I, maybe saw it in passing when saw other people, but I'd never seen them on my cousin. And I never had boots like that. So the spirit used my memory to change some of the details and then to incorporate aspects of their own life in that memory to help me understand what it is that they were trying to get me to relate to. And so the memory turned into a message. And the message was that, they were buried. They know that they were buried with those boots because they're bringing them up and they're aware of that. And so that's when I first had my I would say my first real mediumship experience, where I was able to channel a message or give a message over to someone who was still here from their loved one in spirit. And it was an amazing experience, and I never forgot it, because it told me without a shadow of a doubt that I could do this, and I never knew that I could. I only was interested in developing psychically. So, and something that I've learned over the years is that when you develop psychically, you're naturally gonna, if you if you're inclined to mediumship, to spirit communication, it's easier for you. You're gonna naturally go into it automatically, just whether you want to or not. It's just gonna be a natural progression of your abilities. And so for some people, it may be harder work, it may be more effort, but everybody can do what I do. Nobody, it's not just me. Others can do what I do. It's why you see so many psychics and mediums on TV nowadays, because a lot of us can do this. We just forgotten how. And, once you learn and once you have those experiences, it gets you to focus on that more. Now, granted, some of us are probably meant to be mediums in life, to do it for others. But even with that, I mean, we're all able to do it, right? We can all press a key on a piano. We can all press it. Whether we can play an entire musical song, we can play a whole song or whatever. That's up to the individual, whether they are able to do that or not, the capacity to do that or not. But we can all press a few notes, right? So that is, I think, going to be the second thing you need to know is that everybody can do what I do. I'm not that special. Everybody can do what I do, as long as you understand the process and you start to incorporate it into your intention. You intend to know how to do this, believe that you can do it, know that everybody can do it, and then understand that you need to pay more attention to your thoughts. Your thoughts are important. Your thoughts will get you there. What's happening in your brain, what's happening in your mind is going to lead you to communication with spirit. It's not just seeing something out in the physical. It's actually getting that image in your mind through the memories, through the references that you have, and also hearing what you are hearing from those memories as well, and letting it become its own thing. And that's how you will start to create that awareness of the interaction between you and spirit energy. For me, I've never really had spirits show up in physical and then they talk to me, in the way that they're going to talk to me. That doesn't work that way for me. For me, it's all in my head, and it's always, something I have to work through and work out in my own mind to figure out what it is that they are trying to communicate. And one of the important things that I use when trying to work that out, because Okay, let's say you believe that you can do this, right? You've already given yourself permission to believe you can do this. So work on that because it takes time. It doesn't happen right away, but work on that. I believe I can do this. I believe I can do this. I believe everybody can do this. Ferny said everybody can do this. So I believe I can do this. Pay attention to my thoughts. Okay, well, what's happening in my thoughts? Well, I'm thinking about making dinner. Why am I so fixated on making dinner? I don't know. Maybe there's something about dinner that you need to pay attention to. Maybe it's about the cooking part. Maybe it's about the pan. Oh, that's your grandmother's pan. This is why you're thinking so much about dinner, because this pan is supposed to represent your grandmother who's visiting you now, and she's trying to get you to pay attention to her, and so this is what's popping out in your head. Like the thoughts and how they show up in your mind and how and so one of the tools that I use to help me is I actually use my boogie board. So you see this, guys? It's called a boogie board. I got it on Amazon for like $10 or $15 or whatever. But anyways, it helps me to work out what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. It also helps me to doodle sometimes because doodling can be a really great way to get my logical mind out of it so that I can kind of preoccupy myself in the moment and kind of focus on what I'm thinking about. Because it's very distracting having someone standing or being in front of you. Hey, like, what do they want to say? Hey, what are they saying? Hey, whatever. It's very distracting when you want to think, okay, they're judging me. They think that I'm not talented. They think that I'm making this up. It's very distracting to have that there. So you have to kind of get away from those distractions. And, whenever you're washing dishes, you're preoccupied with the process of washing dishes. And so your mind can wander. When you're taking a shower, same thing. You're preoccupied. You go through your normal process. You can wander. For some people, driving's a natural ability that you just do. You're like, how did I get from like here all the way on the other side of town? I don't remember driving, because it's a natural process for you and your mind has wandered. And so for me to try to give myself a process, I use my boogie board. And so, you can write stuff on there, and then you just push this button and it clears it for me. And so I can just keep writing. Sometimes I'll be like sitting with a client and I'm just like this. And I'm just doing that because I'm trying to give myself something physical to occupy my thinking brain or my logical brain, because I don't need that part of my brain during this process. I need to just let my mind be random and let whatever's going to pop in and try to make sense out of the train of thought, try to figure out what is being trying to communicate. So I use this to kind of doodle on. But sometimes if I need to, if there's something in my mind that I cannot express properly to the person, I will draw a picture. Sometimes I'll draw flowers. Sometimes I'll draw symbols. I had a client a few weeks ago mention that her loved one liked this band and he liked this group, and there's a symbol associated with that group. Now, I didn't know this and she never mentioned this to me, but what I was seeing in my mind during the time that I was tuning in was her loved one kept giving me I know you guys remember the show Charmed with Alyssa Milano and Shannon Doherty and Holly Marie. So Holly Marie Combs. So in the show, there's the beginning of the show, the intro. There's that symbol it's called. I think it's called the triangle, or I forgot what it's called. But it's that symbol. It's just like a triangle. There's like three little what is it? It's like this. It's kind of like that, right? It's kind of like a symbol like that, right? So I kept thinking about that, and then I kept hearing the music in the beginning. It's very kind of heavy metal, kind of like hardcore music. So I kept hearing that, and I kept seeing that symbol. So I said, look, I don't know what he's trying to say, but here's the symbol that I'm seeing. And so I drew it to the best of my ability, and then I kept saying there's something to do with music. There's something about music in this, and they keep talking about music. Turns out that that person's favorite group was music that sounded like that, and also the symbol or the brand for that group was the symbol that I drew. It was a symbol that looked like that. I didn't know it because what they were referencing was my memory of watching, Charmed on TV, which I watch in the morning sometimes, watching the show and hearing that intro with that symbol. And that was important for them. So they were using my memory to communicate that message to me about their, preference with the music or the symbol and so forth. So I use my boogie board a lot whenever I'm doing a mediumship session because it helps me to work out what I'm getting or what I'm feeling. And you'll notice that with some of the other mediums, like Teresa Caputo, she's got her notebook and she's like scribbling and she's writing or whatever like that. And sometimes if we want to write something down or we want to acknowledge something, but we aren't sure it's valid, we'll also use that as a way to kind of just let ourselves write it down so that we can at least be like, okay, I've written it down. I don't know if I'm crazy or not. I don't even know if I want to show this person this, but I've written it down. Okay, what's next? And that way, we can do that. And what tends to happen sometimes is the person will mention it and then we'll be like, oh my gosh, that's what I have. and then we'll show them what we read like 5 or 10 minutes prior to them even bringing that up. And so it happens during the communication. We just don't always acknowledge it or always want to show people what we've gotten because we still suffer from, anxiety from we're going to be rejected. They're going to think we're crazy. And that happens sometimes, that happens sometimes. Sometimes our connections are not ideal. Sometimes we aren't able to connect properly. For the most part, whenever I do a mediumship session nowadays, someone will come through, even if it's not right away the person that the client wants to talk to. Someone will come through, and I'm grateful for that because there were days where I would get nervous and I would lock up because of my own anxiety and my own stress and my own like sense of rejection or like I'm going to be judged, and I wouldn't be able to get anything because it blocks you from receiving information. But when you get to the point where you're like, I'm crazy, I give myself permission to be crazy. So as long as I give myself permission to be crazy, then I can say whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. I can write down whatever I want. Then you give yourself permission to just be crazy, and it's okay. And even then, not always does the connection work the way it should. There have been a handful of times where I tried to connect with a spirit or with spirits in for a client or set of clients. It didn't happen the way that I was expecting, or it just did not happen in a way that made sense to me. And so either I keep trying to the point where I'm like, okay, I've been trying at this for 20, 30 minutes. It's not getting me where I need to be getting to. It doesn't get the client where they need to get to. Maybe something's off and I need to just say, okay, you know what? Maybe something's off. Let's go ahead and just like not, let's stop here. Let's try again on another day because maybe something's going on today that either I don't have control over or that is affecting me. I don't even realize it. So let's try another day. There have been a handful of times where that has happened and I have to reschedule with somebody or try it on a different day just so that I can maybe be sure that it's not that day or there's something going on at that moment that is affecting the session. But even then, there's usually someone that comes through. There's usually people that come through. And so I'm grateful for that. So it's not even a question of if somebody will be there. It's like, okay, who's going to be there first and what are they going to say? Even though I may try to connect to a specific person or I may try to focus in on an individual, sometimes I don't have control over how they are communicating and who's going to want to come through. It's a very interesting experience, but I definitely think my boogie board helps me a lot. The last thing that I will say is you're going to be wrong. You're going to misinterpret the information because you don't know everything about that person. You don't know everything about those people that you've connected to. You don't know their entire life experience. It's not like, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Ghost Whisperer with Jennifer, with that girl Jennifer, I forgot her last name, but Jennifer Hewitt or something like that. Anyways, in that show, she's standing by and the ghost is right there and they're like, tell my mother that I said I love her and that I'm sorry that I wrecked her car and that I passed and blah, blah, blah. And so she's like, she's looking at the spirit and she's like, she wants you to know that she's sorry that she wrecked your car. And she's literally like verbatim repeating the message. And I'm like, it does not happen that way at all. That is never as clear as they are making it out to be. They're confusing a lot of people out there because there are a lot of people now that are going to think that that's how it's supposed to work, and it doesn't work that way. And it's frustrating because it's like sending out a message to people and letting them think that that's how spirit communication is supposed to happen. So they come to me with these expectations that it's supposed to be that clear, and I'm just like, okay, let's, so I have to in the beginning, I always walk people. That's why in the beginning, I walk people through my process because I'm like, look, you may have had mediumship sessions with other clients. You may have had mediumship sessions or spirit communications with others or seen it on TV. I'm not going to say that that's how I work or that that's how I do what I do. It may be similar. It may be the same. Who knows? But let me tell you how I do what I do. Let me tell you how it works for me. And this is how I'm going to communicate that information. And actually, if you've ever seen the show Medium with Alison, which is about Alison Dubois, that show is actually more like what it's like, where she's always having these dreams or she's always having these impressions, but she doesn't have the full picture. And it's almost like a big puzzle piece that she has to figure out. For me, that's the way it is. It's like when they start to communicate, I don't see everything. I don't know everything that is happening in that person's life or that has happened in that person's life. Even though I am psychic, I don't know everything. But I get those details. And with those details, I have to interpret what is going on or what they are sharing, what they're trying to say with the person here. Sometimes it's a piece of information that does not require interpretation and I just need to pass it along. Sometimes it has more to do with the message, the symbol, and how it's being twisted around to kind of make more sense. So it just depends on the individual, the spirit, because they use different ways to try to get to the message. And so it makes sense. Like for me, whenever I see a reference for the Wizard of Oz, which is a reference that I used to get a lot more, I don't get as much anymore. But whenever they would reference the Wizard of Oz, I know it probably meant, okay, there's someone named Judy, there's somebody either named Dorothy, there's something about Kansas, there's something about ruby ring or ruby red slippers or red shoes. So there's a reference there, and that's usually what they mean. It's got something to do with one of those things. So as soon as the memory pops up or the reference pops up, I'm like, oh, great, I know this could mean like 5 or 6 different things. So I immediately try to tune into a specific, like what area there, so that I can tune in and get more specific on what it is that they're probably referring to. And even then, it may be like a symbol. They may have tried to like say, okay, we're not even talking about any of that. All we're talking about is watching the movie Wizard of Oz with you, and that being our thing. And that's what they may mean. And I totally am like, okay, Ruby Red Slippers, okay, and I'm going all over the place, not realizing they're just talking about the movie. It wasn't even that serious for me. They were just talking about the movie. So I've got to figure it out sometimes, and it's harder. Then some days it's harder, some days it's easier because it's just they get it. They know what to do to give me this. It's like charades. If you ever played the game of charades, some spirits can make a symbol for like, what's this? I've got this symbol right here. What is this? Like, oh, that's a teapot, right? Teapot. While some spirits, they'll be like this. They'll be like this. They'll be doing this. They'll be doing this, or they'll be doing this, and they're trying to say tea, and they could have just done this and would have got me there a lot sooner, right? So that's kind of the way it is with spirits sometimes. Some of them are better at it, some of them are not so great. But yeah, so that's what I think will help you guys to improve your ability to connect with loved ones in spirit. I am creating a class around this. I'm working on that this summer because I want to help people get even better at it and understand some of the little things that I've learned over the years from my experience about mediumship and communicating with loved ones in spirit. So I'm creating that class now. It's going to go probably online in the next 2 months or so. But I think those few tips will help you guys to get better at connecting with spirit if you want to connect with spirit. And this is not for everybody. Communicating with spirits, connecting with like this, for doing this for a living is not for everybody. Not everybody has the backbone to be able to do what I do. Honestly, I mean, some days I don't even have the backbone, but I'm like, I still have to do this. This is my life. This is what I do. So get over it, Ferny. You need to move on to the next person, or you need to get on to the next session. And then I'll end up hearing, you did a great job, or I had you before, you said some things I would have never believed in 100 years, and then they happened. And that's just like, cool, like, keep going and keep going and keep going. And I know some very talented sensitive, some very talented psychics, some very talented mediums who refuse to do this because they are afraid of rejection. They are afraid of putting themselves out there. And I'm like, there's so many people that need your help, but I get it. I totally get it. This is not for everybody. So, all right, guys. So let me get to your questions because I'm sure you're all dying for me to answer your questions here. So let's see. So Andrea, your question's too general. Why did I back out the other night? I have no idea what you're talking about because I don't see everything. I don't know everything that's going on in your life. I'm not a mind reader. So you might need to get more specific on what you're referring to. Okay, so let's go over to, let's see. Janie, I love how honest and direct you are. Love how, let's see. Oh, actually, why am I not posting these online? Okay, there we go. There we go. Janie. I love how honest and direct you are. Love how you present yourself. My question, will my finances get better at home or a better job? Your finances. Okay, so with your home situation, I don't think your financial situation with your home situation is going to get better for about 2 years. I think you're in a 2-year loop where it's going to be more of the same, more of the same, more of the same. But after the end of that 2-year period, which will probably be early 2020, February 2020, I think at that time, your financial situation changes with home, because I think your costs go down and you're not paying for as much as you're paying now. So I think it's easier for you. Not only that, but your expenses may not be as much either. They may just be cheaper. Things may be cheaper. As far as your job is concerned, I don't see a better job for you until next summer, 2019. So you might not actually find something that's going to work for you until next summertime. Doesn't mean you should wait till next summer before you do anything. I'm just not feeling that you're going to see it's something that you really want or going to get into something else until next summertime. So, but if you want to change that, you can change the future. You don't have to wait until next summer to move forward with that, okay? So it's got Julie. Hi, Julie. It's good to see you. Steven. Oh, Steven. My heart for you too. Steven. I love Steven. Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca. Okay, so let's see. Sarah. Will I find a job soon? Thank you. Not soon. I don't think you'll find a job soon. If anything, you might find something in August or September. But I'm not necessarily seeing anything going into summertime. Two reasons. One is for some reason your skills or your qualifications are not aligned perfectly. So either something is missing or something is not like perfect, and I think that's affecting you. Another reason is that I think that you are. I kind of feel like you're afraid of getting stuck in a job you're not going to like, and so you're kind of afraid of kind of opening up as much to potentials as you could. So what I would suggest you do is go ahead and just get over that, because I don't want you to get like to just block yourself from potential opportunities that can come sooner than August or September. Okay. Let's go over. I still have to eat. Let's, let's see. Denise, overeating grounds me. People don't believe me because I'm so small. Overeating can definitely ground me too, actually. Between sessions, like when I'm done with the psychic reading, I feel so like I feel like that, like ooh, like my energy feels that way, that I have to like settle myself because I'm so caught up in that person's energy. But it's just a lot, right? Same thing with mediumship. I feel such a drain. I need to kind of boost my energy back up. So actually, I eat fruit in between my sessions. I'll snack. So I eat like popcorn, or I eat fruit like pieces of melon, or I will eat an apple, or I will eat what is it, pineapple. I love pineapple. I'll eat that as well, or I'll eat like a mini sandwich or little sandwiches or something like that. So I actually snack throughout the day, because after every session I feel that like and eating actually helps to like bring me back to like, okay, I'm level, I'm down, I'm grounded, I'm I'm part of a human experience, which is the experience of eating is a very human experience. So I think that definitely does ground me for sure. Um, Okay, let's see. I've got a question here from Julie. Is Patrick communicating with me? Yes, I definitely think Patrick communicates with you, especially right around 9 or 10 o'clock at night for some reason. I feel like either you're watching something that you would have watched together, or you're watching something. He keeps referencing or talking about watching a show he would have loved or liked. And it's almost like you like watching something similar to that, and then also remembering back to memories. So I think, yes, he's definitely communicating with you, and he's letting you know that he is around you for sure. So just know that you are not alone, and he is definitely communicating with you. Let's see, Liza. Lisa or Liza? I'm not sure, but I'm just gonna go with Lesia. Okay, Lesia. Let's go Lesia. Mom, this is the one I tried to contact. Um, oh, she's I'm like, who is she talking about? Is she referencing a person in spirit? She's actually talking about her mom, which is also on the also on the video in the comments. I'm like, what is she like? Who is she wanting me to connect with? Is she wanting me to connect with her mom? Like, does this make sense? That makes sense now. Um, okay, here's one. Manuel and Angela Gonzalez. Is there anything I can do to connect with my dad who's passed over? How can I get him to come to me in dreams or send me signs? So, first of all, I will say that your father's definitely with you. I think he's been trying to communicate with you for a time now. I think he's actually visiting others in dreams, because I think there have been at least two or three dreams where he's tried to communicate with others. I also think that the symbol of a bird is going to be a symbol for your father, or feathers. So feathers or bird is going to be symbolic for your father. I also feel like your father is okay. I'm not sure what he's referencing. See, I'm going to give you guys a kind of example of how this is going. So immediately when I was tuning into her father, the first thing that I saw was a cap or a hat. I wasn't sure if I was looking at a baseball cap or if I was looking at an actual like cowboy hat, but I was seeing a hat. So I'm asking myself, okay, is there a special hat connected to this individual? Is there something about a hat that's important that I need to bring up? So I feel like there's some sort of a cat. But then I am seeing a picture frame. Whenever I see a picture frame in my mind, it's my reference for there is a picture that may associate with this individual. And then, of course, there may be a hat. So I don't know if the spirit is trying to say that they are referencing a picture of them wearing a special hat, maybe even being at a restaurant and someone taking a picture of them wearing like a sombrero or something, or they're talking about a picture and they're wearing their favorite hat. But there's some association to this hat thing that they're wanting to bring to my attention. So that I'll leave that with you. If you want to hear your father more clearly before you go to bed, or you want more dreams, what I will say is this: if you try too hard and you expect it to happen a certain way, you've blocked them, which means, Dad, I can't, okay, if you're going to talk to me, you can only call me at this number between this time, and it can only be so many volume bars, and it has to be like, you can only talk about this thing. Like, you're putting so many restrictions. And so what I would say is, when you go to bed at night, if your energy is lower, or you feel despair, or you feel sadness about them when you think of them, obviously you're going to, because you lost them. But if you feel overwhelmingly that way, your energy is way too low. It's like you're at the bottom of the swimming pool and you're asking them to dive down when they only exist at the top level, right? So you're going to have to bring your energy up, which is what I have to do before my mediumship sessions. And what you have to do is you have to focus on being at peace in your heart, at peace with life, at peace, and not letting anything having a huge impact on you. Earlier this morning, I got a message from my accountant, because it's tax time, right? I got a message from my accountant right before I started mediumship sessions. And so I saw, like, it popped up on my screen, on my laptop, and I saw part of it, action needed, something's missing, and I was like, and immediately like, oh my God, like what is missing? What's going on there? And because it's for taxes, right? And so I saw that message and I was like, nope, don't read it. Don't even look at it, because you have mediumship appointments. You have to be in the zone, right? You have to be in the zone. So I actually ignored the message, and I just allowed myself to meditate and get back into the zone, because that's where I needed to be in order to do the sessions that I had today. If I was upset or something got me all riled up, I would not be able to connect because my energy is too low. And so my first appointment came on, and I was able to connect properly for that person and able to pass on messages that only they could validate. So that was good. So my technique works. Avoid some of that drama so that you can kind of connect better. So if you are going to sleep at night and you're trying to connect and you want to receive more messages, you have to get to a place of peace in your heart and feel okay with where things are, and not be desperate for that message. I know you're desperate for the message, but not be in a mental state of desperation for that message, because that is creating a block there and it's limiting their ability to connect with you. So that's what I would say. Dad, I am here. If you want to talk to me, please come and see me in a dream. I love you. I look forward to the day when you can get through. I'm going to be okay. It's going to be fine. I'm at peace. I'm at peace. I'm at peace. Don't worry about me, Dad. If you can do that and try to just fake it till you make it kind of thing, I think you'll open up to more communication from your father. Okay. So let's go over to Yvette. Hi, Ferny. So I enrolled back in school, and I was recently informed that I will not be receiving financial assistance, so I'm starting to have anxiety over how I'm going to pay for school and maintain my home affairs. Do you see things working out for me? Yes, I do. I don't think you're going to do the entire program or all of it all at once. You might actually have to break it up. I do feel you're going to do parts of it still. It is going to put a crunch on your finances. Okay, but I do see somebody either in your family or somebody you're connected to giving you a little bit of a helping hand. So it's going to help you with one or two of your classes. But even then, I think that you're going to do fine, but you're going to have to break it up. So I think that's what's going to end up happening there. But I do see you going forward with school. Okay. Let's see, Pathori, blessings to you too. Blessings. Love you. Let's see. Let's go over to, let's see. Cynthia, hi, my daughter says my deceased grandma visits her. True. Is my daughter sensitive in that way? Yes. Actually, all children are sensitive in that way. Some of them more so than others. But children are taught to just be open. Children are naturally open individuals. And there's a reason why children experience it more often than we do, because they're just more open. They're more receptive. They can receive that communication more clearly without their second guessing everything. It isn't until we teach children to second guess everything and to question everything that they even exist. Like, no, you're something's wrong with you. You're not right. Question that. Like, we teach children to do that. And so that's why as we get older, we become conditioned to questioning everything. And we just don't pay attention to our inspiration, to our creativity, because that's where communication happens, is through our creative processes, right? So I think that, yes, your daughter is definitely sensitive. And if you want to help her to develop, I actually would suggest taking my class and then using that to help her, because my class will take you through the whole process of telepathic communication and like what you can do to build that experience for her. So, but I do excuse me. Whoa. It's like all the bubbles earlier when I had the drink. Um, Teaching her through what you've learned will help to pave the way so that she can at least either hold on to that ability or just understand it while she's still got it. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Guys, if you're asking general questions like what do you see, that's not a question. Get specific if you want to know about something specific. And when I say specific, I don't mean what do you see about relationship? That's still general. What do you see about this specific situation? That is a specific question, okay? So what do you see, Fernie? It's not a question. I'm not going to even see those because that takes a full reading where I have to spend time meditating and focusing in on each area and figuring out what I'm sensing and what I'm feeling. And we don't have the time for that in this session, right? So I'm trying to be fair to everybody else who's going to be trying to ask questions. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. What's the help me? Okay, let's see. Showtime. Steven says, driving is a huge natural mind wonder for me. Some of my best thinking is done during that windshield time. Yes, very, very true. Sometimes I freak myself out because I'm driving and I wandered off and I'm like, oh my God, how did I get here? Because I just totally drove like across town. Don't even remember making some of these turns. And that's actually part of the grounding process. That's what we talk about. It's like it's important to ground yourself because if you get too airy-fairy, your mind just goes all over the place, right? And actually, what's interesting, yesterday, I was with my partner, and here's a story, right? And we were coming back from Albuquerque. And on the drive home, I it was raining here, which doesn't ever rain, but it was raining here, and we bought some furniture, and the back of the truck was open, and it was wood furniture, solid wood furniture, and we were worried that the rain was going to hit the wood and rot the wood or start to cause damage to the furniture. And even though they had wrapped it up in plastic, it wasn't perfectly wrapped. So there's two ways to get here from Albuquerque. One is taking the main highway all the way through the mountains and then coming here. The other way is coming through the back way, which is kind of going in and out of the mountains, but it's a slower ride, but it's prettier to see. But also, it's just there's less cars on that highway, right? But it's nicer. But the fastest way is taking the highway, or more or less. I didn't want to take the highway. I said, babe, I don't want to take the highway because I just feel we're supposed to take this other way. We're supposed to go this other way. And he was like, no, no, we should take the highway. It's the fastest way there. We're slowing ourselves down. We're going to run into rain. And I was like, no, I think and when you look on the radar, there's more rain on the side I'm taking, and there's less rain on the highway on the freeway that he was wanting to take. And I said, I don't know. This is the direction we're supposed to go. This is the direction we're supposed to go. Well, we went my route because I got my way, right? I always get my way. We went my route and we did run into a teeny bit of sprinkles, but it wasn't like a heavy downpour. And I actually just stopped for a few moments just to let it pass and then kept going. And so we kept going, kept going, kept going. And he's like, okay, well, once we get to the end of this, we have an opportunity to connect to the main highway at that point, or we can take this other back way to the neighborhood. And I was like, let's take the other back way. So he's like, let's just go up to the highway and then we'll go around. I'm like, no, I just don't think we're supposed to. I think we're supposed to go this way. I feel it in my gut. I feel it in my gut. He's like, no, no, no. And of course, me by trying to be considerate, I already got my way by going the back way, right? I decided, okay, let's go up to the highway. He said it. Well, we start going up to the highway and then we look at the radar. Sure enough, the radar shows this massive storm cell over that area of the highway, which before there was none, and now there's this massive rainstorm there. And it was like heavy, hardcore, like purple colors in the radar. And I was like, but then you look at my way and all the rain that was there is now cleared. So it was perfectly clear to go through there. And I was like, see, babe, I told you that we should have gone the other way. I told you. And he was like, no, no. And he's like, no, I didn't say that. We should go this way. I'm like, whatever. And so we got to that point in the highway. Luckily, the rain, pushed on. The entire highway was completely closed off because there were pieces of hail that were the size of like marbles that had fallen from the sky. So much hail that it looked like everything, like it snowed. It recently snowed, and everything was white and covered in white. And the roads were covered in hail, and the highway was closed down because there was a multi-car accident that was blocking the highway on both sides, where there was a 18-wheeler, and then there was all these cars just completely smashed into pieces across the highway because it started to downpour all this heavy hail where they were, and all the cars started trying to drive over these marble-sized hail pieces and this 18-wheelers. It gives me chills thinking about it because I cannot imagine being in that place and all of a sudden like all this hail starts falling and you're on the freeway and you're like, okay, what do I do? What do I do, right? Do I pull over to the side of the road, but somebody may slide on this and slam into my butt? Or do I try to make it to the next, exit, which is a whiles away, and I'm going to keep driving on this stuff? So obviously it didn't work for some people because there was this massive, it looked horrible. And so we had to take this side feeder road all the way back home. So it added like an extra 35, 40 minutes to it took 2 hours to get home instead of the 1 hour it would normally take, pretty much. But because we had to take this detour, but there was so much hail. Like I've never, in Houston where it rains all the time, where it rains, we have freaking Harvey and all these hurricanes. I've never seen hail that big. And I don't even think they've seen it here because I don't think they were prepared for it. But the amount of hail that was across the scenery looked like it had snowed and everything was white. It was crazy. So, but I was like, see, babe, I told you my psychic ability. I should have paid attention to my psychic ability because it told me to go this other route. We listened to you and now we've been stalled. But we at least, at least saw hail that was bigger than hail. But still, this is the reason why I was being told to go the other direction, because this was happening here, and the universe was like, go this way, Fernando, go this way. And it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make logical sense, but go this way. So, but I paid attention halfway through it, and for my own life, right? I paid attention halfway, and it did avoid, some of that heavy rain, and slowed us down enough that we didn't run into that. But still, just right. All right, I'm going to go for a couple of more questions, guys, and then I think we're going to call it a wrap. So, Jennifer Love Hewitt, yes, Jennifer Love Hewitt, that was the Ghost Whisperer. Yeah, such a joke. Yes. What's funny? Even though the show was such a joke, it made me cry. And there were a few times where I'm like, and I'm sitting there and I'm crying. And I'm like, yeah, like I feel bad for, I'm like, they're like, just crying my eyes out. So, let's see. Here's another question. If you try and start developing your skill of communicating with your loved ones through mediumship, will you be able to talk to a specific person, or will it be general access to the whole spirit community? Will you be able to validate you are on the right path? So yes, so there's a great book out there that actually acknowledges that specific question. The book is called Spirited by Rebecca Rosen. She's actually based out of Denver, Colorado. And she's actually one of the mediums that I highly respect because she's always with an integrity when she's dealing with her abilities. She's been featured on a few shows and all of that. But Rebecca Rosen, the book is called Spirited, and it talks about her own personal journey in developing her abilities. So her mother her grandmother committed suicide. Her father committed suicide. And she's trying to learn how to communicate with them, but the start of the process isn't about her learning how to communicate with them. The start of the process is her trying to figure out why she's waking up in the middle of the night and having these weird walking dreams, or sleepwalking, where she's going to the refrigerator and emptying out the refrigerator and eating everything, because within a matter of a short period of time she gained all this massive amount of weight and she didn't know why. So she was just journaling to try to understand her feelings, because she had been going to like a psychiatrist or a therapist or whatever, trying to figure out why she was waking up in the middle of the night and eating all this food. And so in the process of that, she started to journal. And through the journaling, she started to have conversations with her grandmother who had passed away. And so her grandmother would communicate. And so she was going back and forth between her and her grandmother. And her grandmother told her a few things. She told her that she was going to meet. So she says, how do I know that this is you? How do I know this is true? And her grandmother said, well, and she'd been doing it for a while. So it wasn't like this was the first message she got from her. She'd been journaling with her grandmother for a while. But she says, how do I know this is true? And her grandmother told her, well, I'm sending a guy to you. You're going to meet him. His name is with a rose. And so a few weeks later, she met a guy, and his name was, Brian Rosen. And I think it was his name, Rosen. Well, Brian, but his Rosen, last name was Rosen. And so the rose was there. And so she was just like, like she was just shocked because she got this in her conversation with her grandmother. And then she was able to connect with her father, who also, like I said, committed suicide and passed. So she was able to connect with them, and it was all through that mental processes following that train of thought. So that's a really great book to help you to learn to journal and to communicate with them. And yes, you will have access to your own loved ones. You will also have access to the entire spiritual community. It's easier to communicate with a spirit that's a stranger because you don't have any invested interest in that. And when you have your own personal feelings and invested interest, it does affect your ability to sense things, to see things clearly. That's why psychics can't really read for themselves or for close family members or friends. We care too much about ourselves or about the process and what we're going to see that it messes with our ability to see things objectively. So we get a jumbled amount of information. So you can connect with your loved ones. It might be a little bit more challenging because you have an invested interest in what message you want to hear, but because you care and you know their energy, it actually may be easier if you can get around that because you know them so well and you understand their energy. So it's easy to pull that energy in. That's why I ask when I do a mediumship session for people, if they can give me like a picture of that person. It doesn't have to say the picture doesn't have to be a picture of them winning an award. And then in the session, I'm going to say they won an award. Like that's obvious, right? But it's just a picture of them, just a simple picture of them, because it's like a calling card. It helps me to kind of step into that person's energy, allow them to kind of become part of me. And then I can start to kind of relay some more information from a clear perspective, knowing that energy in the way that it is. That's why I prefer pictures. I mean, I can do it without it, but it's easier sometimes when you have a personal object you're holding in your hand or a picture or just the first name, which names can be usually psychic names. When I'm tuning in psychically, the name is actually just the better way to do it. But for mediumship, it's usually a picture or a personal object. That's what usually gets you there. All right, so let me give you one more question, guys. One more question. Giovanni, will I hear back from a company I applied with? So my feeling, Giovanni, first of all, is that there are going to be 3 companies that you're going to be trying this with this year. So there should at least be 3 companies, or will be 3 companies. I don't know which number this one is in the pileup, but I do feel that one of them is going to respond, but it may be like later than you expected, or it may take a while before they get around to you. June is significant for a change up. So I think that you do got a change up coming up in June. I don't know if it's with this company though, or with another one. But it's almost the same position or the same title you either have now or that you've had before. So there's a similarity with the title or the title or with the position or the role. So there's something there. But June is significant for a change up. But I do feel that you should hear something from this company, but maybe later than expected, or it may take a while for them to get back to you. So, all right, guys, I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will talk to you guys next week. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.